Welcome to the Leadership with Biana Kovic Show, and thank you for being with us. Our topic, leadership, focuses on leaders such as yourselves. We believe that leadership is a skill that can be learned through practice and awareness. It is our hope that our conversation will help you become more reflective when it comes to your own leadership practices and enable you to leave a positive legacy. Our very special guest is Joann Pierdomenico. Joann is the co-author of the book series called 88 Plus Ways Music Can Change Your Life, featuring over 100 inspirational music stories from around the world. Along with her husband and partner, Vincent James, she's also the co-founder of the national nonprofit called Keep Music Alive and 2 international music holidays, Teach Music Week and Kids Music Day. Each year, they partner with hundreds of music schools, music retail, and other organizations around the world to offer free lessons to new students and hold events celebrating kids playing music. Joann was instrumental in enlisting musical celebrities to contribute stories to the 88 Plus Ways Music Can Change Your Life book series. In addition, her efforts led to over a dozen celebrities signing on as Kids Music Day ambassadors for the 3rd annual Kids Music Day held in October 2018. Her mission is to help give more children the opportunity to learn how to play music. Joann, good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be a part of it.
Joann, with your husband, you have co-founded the national non-for-profit organization called Keep Music Alive. Can you tell us a little bit more about the organization?
Keep Music Alive actually started about 4 years ago with the idea of our book series, 88 Plus Ways Music Can Change Your Life. My husband, Vincent, is a lifetime musician and songwriter, and one day he was listening to a teleseminar about how everyone has a book inside them waiting to be written. And so neither he nor I ever thought about writing a book. But while listening to that training call, he got the idea of doing a book of inspirational music stories. And the idea for the 2 music holidays, Teach Music Week and Kids Music Day, each came later. And it's really been a steady, organic growth for everything that we've been doing over the last 3 to 4 years.
You mentioned the book called 88 Plus Ways Music Can Change Your Life, and I was wondering if you could share more information about the book.
88 Plus Ways Music Can Change Your Life is a book about short, inspirational stories of how music has affected people's lives from around the world, from everyday people to a number of celebrities. And they all share something about how music impacted something in their life. You know, there could have been a situation that happened, they observed something, they were a part of something. And we were very fortunate to have received some stories from people like Simon Kirke from Bad Company and Free, Bobby Kimball of Toto, Rick Wakeman from Yes, Rob Hyman and Eric Bazillion from the Hooters, and Billy Steinberg, who wrote for Madonna and Demi Lovato. And the stories in the book, so many of them, they'll either make you laugh or they'll make you cry. Mm-hmm. And if I can, I'd like to talk about one of the stories in the book.
Yes, please. It would be wonderful to hear a few stories from the book.
So there's this one story in there about a fellow named Miguel. And him and his family were a musical family. You know, from the time he was little, his parents always had him involved in something musical, playing some type of instrument. And his mother was an educator. And most of her life, she spent her time teaching. Not music, but she was a teacher. And pretty much at the prime of her life, when she was retiring from her teaching position, she developed Alzheimer's. As we know, Alzheimer's can be just so devastating, not just for the person with the Alzheimer's, but the family and friends as well. Basically, with Alzheimer's, for those who aren't familiar, people forget a lot of things. They may even forget who their child is or who their spouse is. Even if you show them a picture, they may not remember who you are. They may not remember details. It starts out small, but it can become, so severe that they don't recognize anyone that they've known throughout their lifetime. But anyway, in Miguel's story, he and his father basically took care of his mother at home. They didn't put her into an assisted living facility where they can be well cared for. They really wanted to take care of her themselves. So one evening, his father wanted to go out with his friends, and Miguel was like, sure, I'll be happy to take care of Mom. He says, I'm going to run some errands so she can come with me. We'll get her out of the house. So she's in the car with him, and they're driving around, running errands. And like all of a sudden, a song came to him from the time he was a child that his mother used to sing. So he actually started singing the song. And all of a sudden, his mother perked up in her seat and started singing the song. Like she remembered the words. She remembered the music. That was the story that he titled Music Brought My Mother Back to Me, because for that short period of time, she remembered something, and they were singing together like they had done most of his life. And, to have something like that happen is just amazing. When you go from someone who doesn't speak at all because of the Alzheimer's and can't remember anything to sitting in the seat next to you and singing a song with you that they sang with you when you were a child. So that's one of the stories that I absolutely love and I love to tell.
And just want to go about that story because it definitely demonstrates that music brings people together. And in Miguel's case, it helped his mom come back to the here and now just for a little while. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, music is like a time machine. It plays so many roles in our lives that we don't even really think about on a day-to-day basis. Maybe a favorite song from high school or, a favorite song from the latest artist. Usually a song can play a part in one shape, way, or form in our life, and we don't always really realize how that song has impacted or shaped or been a part of our life until something else happens, just like Miguel and his mother singing that song from when he was a child. We really feel that music is a time machine because it can take us back to different eras of our life.
Very interesting. And it also, in Miguel's case, brought his mom back for just a little while, right?
Just for a little while, yeah, because right after they stopped singing the song, she basically slumped back over and stopped talking. So there was a little bit of excitement and happiness and joy, that he hadn't seen or felt in a long time regarding his mother because of the Alzheimer's. But he got to see her again in the way that she was, the way that he used to know her when she was a vibrant woman and had her memory and had everything about her going strong. Another story would be of this young lady named Mishani. She is an artist. She writes her own songs, and she actually has her own foundation for children. And basically, she raises money through her foundation to help children with scholarships for education. And I think the majority of the beneficiaries are Native American children who may be in a position where they can't go to school beyond high school. So with her, performances and, and her CDs and things that she sells, I think she uses some of that to help these children further their education beyond high school. But anyway, she actually would volunteer her time for a number of different types of events. And one day she got a call asking if she would come and perform at the Ronald McDonald House, one of the locations in New York. And while she was very hesitant to do it, because she believed that a lot of the outcomes for the patients there are not good. She really didn't want to go because she didn't want to be sad and depressed. But then she rethought that and said, well, who am I to not bring a little bit of joy and happiness to these children when they're fighting for their lives and they're trying to be strong themselves? So she went and she met this little girl who just lit up the room. She just had one of those smiles and the giggles that would just light up a room. And the little girl just became attached to her. So she was with her, side by side when she was playing music and singing and dancing, with some of the children. And this little girl, despite her terminal illness, you would never have known that she was so ill because she was so happy and she was laughing and singing and dancing. And Mishana was just blown away. But she said this little girl was a ball of sunshine. She just really knew how to really be happy even though she was suffering in her own way. And so she got to spend the evening with her, had a wonderful time with her and the other children, and then only to find out like a week or so later that the little girl had passed away. And it devastated her. She had only known this child for a couple of hours, but she felt that she made a difference. And that little girl just had the most amazing evening.
And what I like about the story also, how music has served as a vehicle to bring them together, right?
Absolutely. Music brings people together in so many different ways. When you think about it, I'm just going to jump into music education very quickly, is, you have children, some of them, they feel like outcasts, right? Especially in those elementary school years, it's really awkward because you're just coming into school and you're just learning how to make friends. And, it can be quite cliquey. You'll have one group of kids here, one group of children there. And sometimes kids just don't feel like they can fit in. But then you have like an arts and education program where kids can learn to discover things about themselves. So if you have a child who doesn't know where they belong, who doesn't feel like they belong, they can actually be a part of a band in school. It might be orchestral. It could be of other types of music. But these kids, they start to build a relationship with other children with like minds. They might develop a relationship with a child playing flute because they like to play flute and they're in the same section, so they're going to talk. They're going to build a relationship. Or the child who wants to play the violin, right? So they go into these classes not knowing a whole lot, but when they come out of it, they're like, wow, I made a new friend. As socially awkward as it might be for them when they're first getting involved in school activities, it becomes a way for them to blossom. Music and arts is a wonderful way for children to blossom and to make friends. I think it's a wonderful stepping stone for their life because once they have a music education, they can take that with them all throughout their life. And there's so many benefits that we can get into, later on, but so many benefits of the biggest thing. I feel like a child belongs because I think there's nothing worse than a feeling like you don't.
And what would you say in terms of skills? I know you mentioned benefits, but what would be the skills that student learns when learning to play an instrument?
So the interesting thing that I've learned over the years, because I myself am not a musician. My husband is, I grew up with kids who played different instruments. Learning to play an instrument is really one of the very few activities that we as humans do that uses both sides of the brain. There's the logic side, the creative side, and when children are learning to play an instrument, it's helping to spark these neurons that actually open up creativity and open up the mind for easier learning. And, you have kids that started playing instruments when they were younger, and then they follow through middle school, high school, college, even beyond, and you don't actually have to play an instrument all your life. But if you do, the benefits are great because it helps when people develop dementia and Alzheimer's. They say that those who learn to play instruments, it may either not happen or it can happen later in life, not so early in life, and not as extreme. So that's one really fantastic benefit of learning to play an instrument. And I would like to mention that Vincent, my partner, is a music instructor, but because it's gotten so busy with Keep Music Alive, he's really had to cut back on students. So right now he has one student that he's, holding on to and will continue to teach him because he really, really does want to learn more, is a fellow named David, who my husband met at an event, and he approached Vincent and said, I've always wanted to learn to play guitar. Do you think I could learn to play guitar? And so Vincent looks at him and he's like, yeah, sure, why not? And he says, do you know how old I am? So Vincent, he's looking at him and, wants to be kind. He's like, oh, maybe, in your early 60s. And he says, I'm 80 years old. And of course, Vincent's jaw drops and he says, I would love to teach you how to play guitar. So at 80 years old, Vincent started teaching this fellow, David, how to play guitar. Here we are 3 years later, and he still plays guitar. And his mind is still sharp. This fellow is retired, yet he has like 2 other businesses, and he plays guitar. He goes out and plays, social events for his friends and family, and he's just having a great time. So you're never really too old to learn to play an instrument. And I think David is a prime example of that.
And obviously, learning an instrument helps him with dexterity, with being able to move the muscles. Would you say that that's also very important for slowing down the aging process?
Oh, sure, sure. Because, I think as we get older, we become more sedentary.
Mm-hmm.
We're maybe not as active as we should be. And it's not just about, walking or running or weightlifting, but it's also being able to move our arms, our wrists, our hands, our fingers, so that they stay flexible as well. Because if you don't, they're going to stiffen sooner than you want them to. And you're not going to be able to do as many things in life as you wish you could. And so many people that are successful in life had a type of music education. Maybe they didn't have it all their school years, but they learned at a young age, maybe took it through middle school, maybe even high school. You have people like Einstein. Einstein played violin and piano. He was an amazing person. There's so many people that are doctors, people that are surgeons, people that have all these really important careers. And a lot of them will tell you that I had music in my life. I grew up with it, not just listening to it, but playing it. And it's been shown that studying music and practicing increases your ability to learn. So, if you're going to school to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a scientist, it can't hurt at all to have a type of music education in your life, no matter how old you are. Even if you're in college and you never even took up an instrument all those years before, it is still beneficial to take up an instrument anytime. It could be the ukulele. That's one of the easiest instruments to learn to play initially. Small, and it's not, overbearing and large, and has 4 strings. And it really is beneficial in helping with their other studies.
So I think you talked a little bit about the impact of music and how it brings people together. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the healing benefits of music, the way we create friendships by listening to the music or support a cause or an event.
Definitely, for sure. Music does bring us together. Music is known as the universal language, and we truly believe that. Whether it's a child in school or an adult out in the world, people go to concerts. Say somebody wants to go to see Jim Brickman, who was one of our Kids Music Day ambassadors. He plays and writes the most beautiful romantic love songs. And so you'll have people that go to his concerts, and they're all there because they all love his style of music. So while they're there, they're making friends. And sometimes these people develop friendships. They're total strangers, of course, right, when they go. But then they become friends. They start associating through social networks like Facebook and Twitter and things like that. And it was all because of going to a concert somewhere. Or you might have someone who, plays a particular instrument and they're part of a band or an orchestra or something like that. And say they're out performing somewhere, whether it's at a coffee house or a church or a community center. Sometimes people will come up to them, and there were stories, and off the top of my head, I can't tell you who they were in the book, but there are stories in the book where people say, oh my goodness, I absolutely loved that song. I felt so connected to it, and I felt like when you were singing that song or playing that song that you were playing it for me because it really resonated with me. So there's so many different ways that, music can bring us together. And when you think back to way back in the day, I'm going to set the time machine here and go back into the early 80s when we had big events like Live Aid or Farm Aid. These were musicians that were coming together for the greater good. They were raising money to help people around the world for different reasons. So here you have these amazing musicians giving their time and their talent to help provide clean water or help with farming so that these families in different parts of the world can grow food. So as tiny as it may seem at times, where it might just be us, is something far more reaching. Music, it's all around us. And we always have an opportunity to take something from it. Sometimes we'll be sitting in the car listening to the radio. Maybe we're in a traffic jam and we're not exactly the happiest person because we have places to go and we're running behind because of the traffic. music, it really can calm the savage beast, right? Because we might get all worked up because we're late for an appointment because of the traffic. So we put on some music. You put on a song that might either be calming, or you put on a song that is maybe one of your favorite dance beats, right? Mm-hmm. That elevates your life condition. It makes you a happier person or a calmer person, which really is better for you, because we all know that getting upset and getting worked up is not good for our health. Mm-hmm. So just, playing music on the radio, and not even playing an instrument, but playing music, can have such great benefits in reducing stress. So there's just so many different ways that music can touch our lives, how it can affect our lives.
So going back to keep music alive, can you tell us a little bit more about how did it all started and what is the goal with the organization?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, our mission is to promote the value of music. And one of the values, of course, is education. And going back to when we first started, it was about the book, 88 Plus Ways Music Can Change Your Life. We were trying to figure out, well, how can we use these stories to help promote music education? And we decided, well, why don't we donate a portion of the proceeds to music education? So when we were looking for these stories and reaching out to, managers of celebrities, we would tell them we were going to donate 50% of the proceeds from every book, whether it's an ebook or a paperback, we're going to donate it to music education. And I think that was part of the reason why we got such wonderful, great stories from many wonderful people. Mm-hmm. And so it started with the book, and then we thought, well, what else can we do? So we decided, well, let's see if we can get people to give free lessons to people who maybe always wanted to take up an instrument but never really did. Like, they never really gave themselves that push. So we created Teach Music Week, which takes place the third week of March every year. And that actually coincides with a national event called Music in Our Schools Month. So we thought that would be a perfect opportunity to introduce Teach Music Week. So basically what we do is we would contact different music schools, music stores, private instructors, music organizations to give away at least one free music lesson to a new prospective student. It didn't have to be a kid. It could be an adult. Because, some adults want to take up an instrument who maybe thought about taking one before and never did. And I think getting a free lesson is a wonderful way to introduce someone to an instrument. Or trying out that instrument, maybe they realize that's not really the one for me. And then they can move on to something else and try out a different instrument. Mm-hmm. So for us, it was all about getting more people, kids and adults, to learn to play an instrument and reap the benefits of playing a musical instrument.
And I understand that that's offered in U.S. and Canada, correct?
Yes, it started out the U.S. and then the U.S. and Canada. And then last year we branched out and we were blossoming, and we started reaching out to these other different music schools and stores, private instructors, organizations in other countries. And we were very fortunate to have had 4 other countries, in addition to the U.S. and Canada, participating in Teach Music Week by providing a free lesson, which, we were totally blown away by because we didn't know, if anyone would be interested in doing this. But as it turns out, from all the different schools and stores that we've been dealing with over the last few years, is that there really are places that give free lessons anyway. And then you also have wonderful independent music instructors, that might have a studio out of their home. So we really try to reach as many different types of places so that more people can become aware of the opportunities available to them in their communities. So we basically promote them. All these different participants that participate in Teach Music Week and Kids Music Day, we send out thousands of press releases, one by one, like not mass emails, one by one, to the TV, the radio, the newspapers, in the areas that all these different places are participating in, so that the people in their communities can know that these different schools or stores are offering this. And, it would be wonderful for them to be able to take advantage of getting a free music lesson. And then for Kids Music Day, we decided, well, we want to do something else besides giving away free lessons. What else can we do? We thought, well, we're all about kids and music education, and we wanted to find a way to get other places involved. Maybe they didn't have the resources to be able to give away free lessons, but that maybe they could hold other events that would help create more awareness of who they are and what they do and what they offer to their community. And basically, Kids Music Day is another one of our holidays where we encourage these different music schools and stores and organizations to hold events that celebrate or benefit children playing music. And they can have really almost any type of event. Some of them will have an open house for their studios or schools or stores. Some of them will hold instrument petting zoos where people can come in and try out different instruments. Some of them might have like a sale on lessons or classes. Some of them will have their students do something called Bring a Friend. Your friend can come to your music lesson for free, and they're also going to get a free music lesson with their friend. And what better way to go and try something new than with a friend, right?
So do you know how many people have in total participated in these events?
We did do a survey for Teach Music Week in March, and the estimate that we have is about 1,200 people took advantage of the free lessons.
1,200 people, and how many providers?
There was over 600 locations that participated. As the event grows year by year and more people become familiar with it, I think there's going to be more opportunities for people to take advantage of those free lessons.
So obviously the goal of giving people free lessons is to get a sense what it is and sign up for the lessons, because only by doing it you can actually benefit from it. What would you say are the benefits of being able to take free music lessons?
A lot of times somebody will say, well, I want to learn to play guitar. So they go in with the intention of learning to play guitar, and they're like, you know what? I've been doing this for 6 or 8 weeks, and I'm really not feeling it. I think I really want to learn to play the drums. So you see, they can start out with a particular instrument that they think they're interested in, and then totally flip it and say, oh, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to try something different. So it's a really great way for people to learn what resonates with them.
And try something new, right?
Absolutely.
What was the follow-up from the schools? I'm just curious, did they see bigger enrollment after the petting zoo or free lessons?
Yeah, that much we don't know. We only know basically that 1,200 number that was from Teach Music Week of about lessons being provided.
Interesting.
So we don't have any other, backup information as of yet, but we are looking to be able to do more in-depth survey that will not just reach the schools and stores, but the people that actually took the lesson or participated in the open house or petting zoo.
And going back to Kids Music Day, you mentioned celebrity ambassadors. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we were trying to think of ways to create more awareness for Kids Music Day. So we thought, well, what can we do? How can we get more people to pay attention or to listen to the message that we're putting out there about the importance of music education for children? And so we came up with a nice big list. And I remember the first celebrity to give us a yes was Jim Berkman, who is known for his song Valentine and The Gift.
Yes.
Some of the most beautiful
piano music
over here. He has written even songs that other people have sang, like Martina McBride and some others. He wrote those songs. So the amazing thing is he actually has his own company, and what we were doing aligned with what it is that he does. And he actually, for the first time this year, created a songwriters workshop called a Songwriters Boot Camp, and he was offering free scholarships to kids from age 16 to like 25. And he was like, would you be able to, share this so that more people will know about it? So they were scholarships for these kids to learn how to write songs. And then the management of icon Julie Andrews, who is very well known for like The Sound of Music and Mary Poppins, The Princess Diaries and Shrek, and so many other, wonderful things with her magnificent career, says that she would love to be a Kids Music Day ambassador. So we were very fortunate. Now we have Richie Sambora from Bon Jovi. We have Nancy Wilson of Heart. We have Sarah McLachlan, Todd Rundgren. We just have so many wonderful people supporting what we do. And while they don't personally come out to events, they lend their support with their name and their image. So we're really honored to have these amazing people as Kids Music Day ambassadors, and we're hoping that it definitely will create more of a buzz for Kids Music Day and the importance of a music education for children.
So going back to Kids Music Day, what kind of events are happening during that day? Can you just tell us a little bit more about it?
Oh, yeah. It's practically endless. There are little programs that parents bring their newborns through 7 years old to. And they have these classes where they use music to help get children moving and to really, just getting kids exposed to music. So they might have a free workshop, or they might have, they'll waive the fee for enrollment, or they might give you one class out of 6 for free or something like that. And then, of course, we have music stores where they might have kids come in and do a performance at their store. They may offer a discount on select merchandise. We'll have stores hold instrument petting zoos and also instrument donation drives, because there are students that cannot afford to purchase a musical instrument, even though they want so badly to be able to take up and learn a musical instrument. So some of these places will hold an instrument music drive where people can donate their no longer used musical instruments, and they can either go to the families in need that are enrolling, or that they can actually donate them to their local school districts who may be in desperate supply of music instruments. And there's just, so many places that will take music instruments. So we always love when they do a musical instrument drive. Sometimes the places will have like a community or family jam where they'll open up an area, a section of their store or their studio, where people in the community who play instruments, they can come in together and they can just jam.
So it's many different events throughout a day, right?
Yeah, all kinds of events. It's really, really wonderful to see so many different events happening.
And talking about the music petting zoo, some of us might not know what that is.
An instrument petting zoo is where you'll go into like a music store or music school, and you actually get to try out different instruments, whether it's a flute, a guitar, drums, violin, ukulele. Like, you actually get to go in, put your hands on these things, and try them out. And there's instructors there that show you how to use the instrument.
So it's a like first-hand experience, so people can actually feel how it feels to play an instrument, right?
Right. It's like getting a free lesson on any number of instruments. Like, you can try out as many as you want. And that's really kind of, I think, a really great idea to get people to come into the door with their curiosities about instruments. Like, I always wanted to learn to play guitar. Well, I never really knew, if that's something I should do. But here they have an opportunity, and it doesn't cost them anything to go in and try out instruments and see what instrument resonates with them.
So, Joann, what would you like Kids Music Day to achieve this year? Because I believe the event is in October, right?
Right. So last year we had a little over 400 locations participating between the U.S., Canada, and a couple of other, countries outside the U.S. And we really are trying to create more awareness of Kids Music Day and the importance of music for kids. So our goal for this year is between 800 and 1,000 worldwide participating locations. So the more people who know about it can take advantage of the opportunities available to them.
So, Joann, you are the executive director of your organization, and since the show is about leadership, can you tell us how do you go about assessing your own leadership style and effectiveness with your teams and clients?
Sure. My personal leadership style has really been evolving for many years, over time. I was a Girl Scout leader for two of my daughter's Girl Scout troops, And I've also been a part of the PTL or PTA, PTO, however you look at it. It's basically a parent-teacher league organization. I've been a part of that for 10 years. And then on top of that, I worked as an executive secretary, and, where I had people that worked, for me or with me. And I also draw on my experiences along with insight from our mentors, who are Steve Harrison of the Bradley Communications Group and also Jack Canfield, to help fuel my growth as a leader. It's not always easy. It's only when people outside of myself see what I've been doing and help me realize my own evolution.
So you say the effectiveness of your leadership style would be basically getting feedback from others, correct, about your own leadership?
Absolutely. Or sometimes people are just pointing something out like, wow, that was really interesting what you said or how you handled something. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you very much. I just think that we evolve and things naturally happen for us.
So are there any traits that leader needs to have to be a successful leader?
I think it's really important for leaders to realize that it's not all about them, that it's about the organization and its mission and the people that are involved in the organization working towards the mission. And it's also about creating an environment where everyone involved feels like they can contribute in a meaningful way and that they're appreciated.
And are there any ways that leaders can create a welcoming environment for their employees?
Although I've had corporate experience as an executive assistant, I haven't really led employees. However, I have helped lead a few volunteer groups. As I mentioned earlier, with Girl Scouts and PTOs and PTLs. But I've discovered that probably the most important trait is to be a good listener. Being able to take feedback from people and ideas from everyone and try to lead the group into making the best possible decisions for the tasks at hand.
So talking about being a good listener, obviously, that helps you become also a good communicator. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I feel like if we're focusing on a task or a mission at hand, that really using good listening skills to find the best solutions and trying to balance, different personality types to help maintain a positive environment for everyone is key. And also, you really can't lead an organization in like a vacuum. It has to be free to flow both ways, us to them and them to us as well.
So what you're saying to us, a good leader is also a very effective collaborator.
I think so, yes.
So would you say that a leader is responsible for his or her team's success, or that's mostly up to the team? What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like it's hand in hand together, because a leader can't be successful without his team, and a team can't really be a good team without a good leader. So I feel like, having both together, they complement each other and that they can accomplish really good things together.
Joann, you're a woman leader, and I was wondering what suggestions you have for women leaders.
I think it's important for us to realize that women can be just as successful leaders as men can be, and we all have something to offer, and it's important that we all work together to help make our organizations and world a better place.
Do you believe that being assertive helps you lead better?
Sometimes it's important to take charge of a situation and make sure that the decisions that are being made are getting done in a timely manner. But I also think that while being assertive, we also need to be thoughtful and considerate of the other person's thoughts and efforts at the same time.
And do you think that effective leaders are also good managers?
Well, I think they can be. Not always, but, every situation is different.
And in your opinion, what is the most difficult part of being a leader, and particularly being a leader in your own organization?
That's kind of funny. Having everyone look at me as if I have all the answers, which is really funny because I don't. My experiences have pretty much all been in my volunteer situations that I've been involved in, even, with Keep Music Alive. I think because we've grown so much in such a short period of time, I think people think that there's like a magic key somewhere, and it really isn't. It's been about perseverance. We got a lot of no's when we were searching for stories for our book, and we got a lot of no's for people to be Kids Music Day ambassadors, but it was really just being determined and really just being persistent, but in a very polite way. And so I think, people just really think that there was something magical that was happening, or that, we had some kind of a key that was allowing us to have all these things happen. But the truth is, it's been hard work. It's been putting our efforts in. When you have your own business, you work more than 40 hours a week. You put in, 50, 60. You do whatever it takes to get the work done.
So would you say that being persistent is a leader's best asset?
It's definitely a great asset, making goals and working on them every day, even if you aren't able to accomplish everything that is on your list, but also stepping out of your comfort zone, pushing yourself beyond things that you're comfortable with doing.
And you also mentioned being okay with getting a lot of no's, right? Because at the beginning of your organization, when you were starting the event or writing the book, you have received a lot of no's, right?
Absolutely. And let me tell you, I consider myself a very emotional person. So when someone gives me a no about something, I would take it personally, but it wasn't really meant to be that way. And I've learned over time that the no's, I don't really look at them as no's. I look at them as not right now, because I feel like I can go back at a later time and then ask for something and it may happen, which is the same thing that happened when we were first looking for stories for the book. And people were telling us no. I was like, okay. But then we came up with this other thing for Kids Music Day. And I would write to them about it, and I would get a yes. So no doesn't necessarily mean no, maybe only for that particular time period or event, but that there's always the possibility of a yes down the line. That's how I like to look at things. Like, I feel like there's more possibilities out there than just that no.
And also what I'm hearing is finding what really interests the other person, so that when you approach it the second time around, you actually get a yes, right?
Right. It really depends on the people and the artists themselves, because number one, they all have very busy lives, and they're being inundated with lots of requests for tons of different things. And it's about writing to them with something that you think might resonate with them. It doesn't mean it will, but that it might. So if you're looking to get a celebrity endorsement for something, you really have to research them to find out what their passions are outside of music. Because while they may be musicians, that's not their entire life. They have other things going on. They may have families. They may have other organizations that they're advocating for. And if what you do resonates with them, you have a better chance, I feel, of getting a yes for something.
So being patient, getting to know who are you talking to, and obviously never giving up, right?
For sure.
Any thoughts on generosity and leadership?
I feel like it's always in our best interest, no matter what we're doing, who we're dealing with, to be as generous with your time as you can possibly be, with your teammates or whomever, because we all know that we all have very little of it these days. And time is precious. Time is valuable. And if you're able to give of you that time that people are looking for, I think the results of what you're trying to accomplish are going to be greater.
And any thoughts on taking responsibility when it comes to leading others?
Well, I think sometimes you might find yourself in a situation where there's a leadership vacuum, meaning it's clear that no one is leading the group, and it's just kind of like meandering and in danger of not really being able to accomplish its goals. And when that happens, I think it's important that someone steps up and starts to lead the group in a desired direction. A person who may be designated as a leader may not always be the best person for that particular project. And so it's important for other people to chime in with other thoughts that are important for the goal that you're trying to obtain.
Very interesting. So you said sometimes when the leader is designated to be a leader, he might not be good for the project, right?
Right. While that leader may be good for one type of project, doesn't always mean that they're going to be, perfect for other projects as well. It really depends on the people. It depends on the project. It depends on what other people are bringing to the table. You have some people that are more creative than others. You have some people that are more goal-driven than others. So it really does depend on the whole package.
So then you hire people that can balance what you don't have on what you don't know, right?
Yeah, and I think also, too, is by asking the people in your group what they think, because I think sometimes people feel like they might be stepping on other people's toes if they voice a thought or an opinion that they have. And I feel whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, I don't think it's going to be as great as if everyone gave their input, if everyone shared their ideas, if everyone truly spoke out on what they believe is beneficial.
How do you stay humble while you lead others?
In the situations that I've been in, I've really thought of myself more as like a member of a team, and I think maybe having that perspective helps a lot. I know that sometimes, leaders, not all of them, but some of them can tend to get like a big head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe their thoughts on how something should be done is the only way or the best way. But I think with all of us as a team contributing to whatever the end goal is, I think better things will happen.
Any thoughts on how clarity and curiosity impacts leadership?
Well, I think it's definitely important to be curious and to always ask questions. Because if you're working on a project and say, the leader has their way of doing things, and there's other people that are in the group that have ideas that could maybe kind of complement. Like one person's idea may complement another person's idea, which the first person may really not have thought of, right? So if you have these two really great ideas that can work together, the two great ideas are better than one. So I definitely think it's important to be curious, ask questions. I think it's important to ask questions because the more questions you ask, the more informed, the more answers you're going to have, and I think the better the project will be.
And how does media affect leadership? And in particular, do you feel that it affects leadership in your type of industry?
I'm going to say that you shouldn't let what the media or any other outside sources, what they're saying about your organization, I don't think you should let that alter your vision for your organization. If you have a mission, there's so many different, organizations and companies out there that have visions, but when you hear one negative thing that someone's reported about, it kind of like throws them for a loop, and then they're rethinking how, what their mission should be or how they want to go about it. And I think that if you're really passionate about something, your mission is your mission, and you just need to keep doing what you're doing. Of course, it's always great to have constructive criticism, but don't let the negativity of the negi-nillies out there determine, who you are, what your organization is striving for. That's just one, group or, person or whatever. You know in your heart what it is that you want to accomplish. And I think if we keep working hard and we do it in the gentlest way possible, and when I say that, I mean like you handle every person delicately. If you're able to do that, then I think you're going to go places with your mission.
Any final thoughts?
Wow, we've covered so much, and I really thank you, Biana, for this opportunity to share about Keep Music Alive and Kids Music Day and our book series. I think maybe if I could just let the listeners know that if they want to learn more about Keep Music Alive or our two music holidays, Kids Music Day and Teach Music Week, they can find us at www.keepmusicalive.org, which is the nonprofit. And then for us as authors, our book series, you can find us at www.88waysmusic.com.
Got it.
And we are actually getting ready to work on a volume 2 of the book series. So we are looking for new stories about how music has affected people's lives. So if your listeners feel like they have a story that they would like to submit for possible inclusion in the next release, which we're hoping for is next year, they can go to 88waysmusic.com and they can fill out a form there. And we would love to hear about the stories of how music has affected people's lives.
So one more time, people can get in contact with you by going to a website, right?
Yes. For the music holidays and the organization, it's keepmusicalive.org. And for the book series, 88waysmusic.com.
Thank you very much, Joann, for being a guest on our show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been great. And I love how you ask so many amazing questions. It, really draws out so many things that maybe we think about, but we don't always talk about. So that's fantastic. And I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Leadership with Biana Kovic Show. Remember that you're all leaders in your own rights, and the impact that you're meant to achieve starts with small acts of kindness, curiosity, and generosity. Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you again, and until next time.